Welcome to this lesson on the equation of a circle. You want a piece of paper and a pencil to write some notes down. You're going to want to pause the video for these first two slides. So slide 1, slide 2. Okay, now that we have the equation of a circle, we want to write the equation of this circle that has a center at 2, 2 and a radius of 4. So we need to identify our parts. So we have H, K, and R that are going to go into our formula. So the x minus h quantity squared plus y minus k quantity squared equals the radius squared. So I'm going to plug the 2 in for h, the second 2 in for k, and the 4 in for r. The only thing to simplify here is 4 squared, making it 16. The common mistake is you think that you have x minus 2 quantity squared and you need to square the x and square the 2. So again, common mistake that we'll see is students trying to make this statement right here, that this is x squared minus 4. And you need to understand right now that that is not correct. Put a big X through that. You never just square the two parts. This is a binomial, and a binomial squared becomes a trinomial, meaning it has 3 total parts when it's all said and done. And you would get that from foiling x minus 2 times x minus 2. So please do not try to just square the two parts thinking you're simplifying it. We are actually done at this point. The equation of our circle is this right here. The x minus 2 quantity squared plus y minus 2 quantity squared equals 16. Leave it in that form. Okay, this time we have the equation of a circle we're trying to come up with, and they did not give us the radius, rather they gave us the center and a point on the circle. Well, we can use the distance formula to find the distance between the center and that point, and that will represent our radius. So using the distance formula between these two, I subtract my x values, 6 and 1, to get 5, and I'm going to square that. And I'll subtract the y values, 4 and negative 8, to get 12, and I'll square that. Well, 5 squared is 25, and 12 squared is 144, and when I add those together I get 169, and I'm taking the square root of that, which is going to give me 13. So I now know that my radius is 13. My center is 1, negative 8. So again, in identifying my pieces here, this is H, this is K, and this is my radius R. So those are the 3 pieces in the formula that I'm going to use. So I've plugged in 1 for H in the x minus h squared part, and I've plugged in negative 8 in the y minus negative 8 quantity squared, and that equals my radius 13 squared. Simplifying this becomes positive 8, and the 13 squared is 169. So this is my final answer. Again, nothing else that I need to do to this. This is the equation of the circle. Okay, here I was given the center and a radius. The key point in this particular problem is going to be the 0. It's just going to make your equation of a circle look slightly different, but no big change. It's still the same process. This is still H, this is still K, and this is still R. So we're going to plug that straight into the formula. X minus h quantity squared plus y minus k quantity squared equals r squared. So what I'm plugging in for h this time is 0. And x minus 0 is just x. So the only thing I'm going to have on this piece when it's all said and done is an x squared. So plugging all that in, the minus and negative 3 will give me a plus 3 in here, and the h squared will give me a 64. So since I had a 0 here, it just went away and became x squared plus the y plus 3 quantity squared equals the 64. And that, again, is my final answer. There's nothing else I need to do to that. Now what I'm trying to do is actually go from having the equation to being able to graph it, which means I need to be able to pull out the parts, the h, the k, and the r, from this equation. Something you need to remember is that the original formula is x minus h quantity squared plus y minus k quantity squared. There is a minus already built into this. So what you can do, keeping this straight, is just look at the number associated with x, and you see right now it looks like minus 3. Just think of it as it's the opposite of that. So h is going to be, instead of minus 3, it's going to be a positive 3. Sorry. It's going to be a positive 3. Same thing for the, over here, the value with y, that's your k value. Because the minus is built in, it's going to be the opposite of what I see here. What I see is a positive 4, and the opposite of that is negative 4. And then this last one, remember your formula, it's not equal to the radius, it's equal to the radius squared. So you got to ask yourself, what number squared is 9? Well, that number is 3. Another way of looking at that is when you're given the equation and you need to find the radius, you just take the square root of this number out by itself, square root of 9 being 3. So that's how I can visually look at this equation and see my parts and know that my coordinate for my center is going to be 3, negative 4, and my radius is going to be 3. I can actually pull that straight down from the equation without any work. Now, what we're going to do in this slide the rest of the way is show you how we would have rewritten the equation to identify these parts. But again, you can do this mentally if you understand the idea that these numbers are just going to be opposites. So minus 3 is going to become positive 3, positive 4 is going to become negative 4. And then I just take the square root of 9 to get 3. Okay. So rewritten, you see the x minus 3 quantity squared just as it was, but we rewrite the y plus 4 quantity squared as y minus negative 4 to identify k as negative 4. And then we rewrite 9 as 3 squared to identify that as the radius squared. So that tells me what h and k are as well as the radius. So I know now that I have a circle centered at 3, negative 4 with a radius of 3. So what I'm going to do is plot the point 3, negative 4. And the way I would actually draw the circle, once you plot the point, there's 4 points that you're going to want to identify to make it easy to draw your circle. And that is using the radius of 3 from the center, go up 3, and plot a little point there. Go down 3 from the center and plot your point. Go left 3 from the center, plot your point, and go right 3 and plot your point. And that's going to give you 4 good points on the circle to help you to graph that circle. Okay? So that's just a simplistic way of graphing once you know the center and you know the radius. Okay, so one more of these. Again, mentally I can look at this if I understand this idea of opposites, and I know that I need the opposite of negative 3, which is positive 3, and I need the opposite of positive 2, which is negative 2. So what I'm saying is that my center is at positive 3, negative 2. And the square root of 4 is 2, so my radius is 2. So centered at 3, negative 2, and has a radius of 2. That's what I'm going to be graphing. But to pull this out so you can see where those numbers are really coming from, plug into the same formula so that I've got x minus 3 quantity squared plus y minus negative 2 quantity squared, because minus and negative 2 is the positive 2, equals the 2 squared. So it's identifying the h as positive 3, because that's the number that's being subtracted. The k is negative 2, the number being subtracted, and the radius is 2, which is what we said we could do mentally. But this is how it is written out. So we know that our center of our circle is at 3, negative 2, radius of 2. So we're going to go plot 3, negative 2, meaning go from the center, from the origin, go right 3 down 2. And then we want a radius of 2. So once again, from my center, I'll go up 2, plot a point. I'll go down 2 from my center. I'll go left 2 from my center. And I'll go right 2 from my center. And that's just, again, a simplistic way of getting some coordinates for your circle. And that is how you're going to graph. That's how we use the equation of a circle. Pretty straightforward idea. Hope you bring any questions that you have to class. Other than that, hope you have a great day, and thanks for watching.